I want to share with you what one of Kamala Harris's advisors had to say on CNBC. So I don't really usually get that worked. Oh my gosh. Like I was just spitting bullets after I saw this one. I mean, this guy, for him to try and insist that somehow taxing unrealized gains on stock market positions is the same as a property tax is bonkers. And you know, for NBC, granted, Joe's very conservative, but even Becky, she's not always like playing her hand that way. I mean, she was even all over this guy on CNBC in the morning. I want to get your reaction and the viewers' reaction to this because this is, I mean, it's kind of like theft. I think it's totally unconstitutional. But this guy, you know, has a different view, clearly.
Unrealized gains, taxing unrealized gains just doesn't seem fair in any sense of the word. In the very best sense, if you are taxing unrealized gains, all you're doing is pulling forward the taxes that would be paid later when someone actually sells the stock.
I think that this reaction to unrealized gains is a little funny, given that I bet that the majority of people watching right now are already paying a tax on unrealized gains. It's called a property tax. When the value of your home goes up,
it's a use tax.
When the value of your home goes up, you pay higher taxes even if you don't sell your home.
Your value of your home never moves the way a stock moves, the way something else moves.
That's always the go-to answer.
It's also, property tax is a use tax. You're paying for the schools, you're paying for emergency services. Those are things that make absolute sense.
And sure, and all the revenue that comes in from these unrealized gains taxes and the other taxes in the Harris plan are going to go to creating what she calls more opportunity. It's to make sure that every newborn born in this country gets $6,000.
Using the services.
Well, look, you're arguing that this is some sort of foreign concept that's completely unknown in the U.S. tax code.
It's probably unconstitutional. It's probably, and it was never in anyone's intent to tax.
It's not an income tax,
and it's never going to happen. Probably. Well, I'm not going to say my lifetime.
I wouldn't say that.
Not in Becky's lifetime.
I've done some stuff personally.
So that was kind of amusing, and she even came in. She said, "I wouldn't say that. Not in my lifetime. Not." In other words, she's saying, "Look, it's real." And I would point out that what do they start around 3-4% for an income tax, and then the next thing you know, it's basically 50%. I mean. It's well, not that the top, I'm talking all in, but I'm sorry, like this is one slippery slope. They're like, oh, it's only people with 100 million. Well, just say like, look,
for now.
You know what? Yeah, that's for now. That's for now, because then it's going to slide down to 50 and then 25, and the next thing you know, $1 million. If you have $1 million in assets in your 401k and in your home. Hey, it's fair game for the government. Or they'll go after, $500,000. You get a $500,000 home and combined assets in your equity portfolio. I'm sorry. Like, I don't trust this one single bit.
No, all right. So there's a lot going on here. It's really, we have to think about it as
I'm keeping my blood pressure down.
We have to think about it.
I get my Irish up, but go ahead. There is a lot going on.
So we're moving away from the principle that the government has the right to tax certain financial transactions, like when you receive income or when you monetize an asset, right? Like that's a financial transaction, and now it's just assessing like a levy on the value of something that they will control how it's valued. So when you think of unrealized gains, there's nothing. It's really just a wealth tax. It's really just an asset value tax, right? The only difference between taxing an asset based on its value versus taxing it's just sort of starting from like a higher basis. So instead of taxing 2% of the entire value, maybe they'll tax 20% of the increase in the value over the last few years, right? So, but it lands you in the exact same place, which is you're paying taxes based on a percentage value of the asset. In the property tax analogy, so they always like to use analogies to kind of change the rules, right? Or to kind of normalize concepts that shouldn't be normalized. When you think of a property tax, you pay property taxes on your home. That is a tax that's really connected with the asset itself. Where you buy the home, that there's a certain level of property taxes that any owner of the property has to pay to like the municipal government. And that's how the municipal government kind of funds its operations.
And then you get something for that, right? Theoretically, unless you live in New York City, which is one of the reasons I don't live there anymore. I mean, I moved down to New York and I'm like, oh my gosh, my tax dollars actually go to something. It's amazing, right? You have schools, you have parks, you have community centers, all that good stuff.
But the tax attaches to the asset, in that property tax situation. Here, they just want to apply asset wealth taxes or kind of asset-based taxes just to sort of your whole, whatever they choose it to be, right? Whether it's your equity portfolio or your, whatever investments you have, real estate, and that's just an open-ended
family farm. Mm-hmm.
A family farm. So then it just becomes open-ended. It just becomes subject to like the political process. So the legislature, I guess, or executive order, they'll decide which of your assets and what the rules would be in terms of what percentage of them the government gets to take at any given time. So it's really opening Pandora's box. And and also we talked a little bit earlier about, the idea that, valuation is very, one of the advantages of taxing financial transactions is that there's not like dispute over valuation. When you start getting into the realm of asset-based taxation, now you're talking about, the need to kind of ascribe value to different assets, and, markets ascribe value to assets. It shouldn't really be the government that does that. And valuations fluctuate. Nvidia's down 6% today. There's constant transition. So it's a really, really dangerous idea that sounds maybe relatable at first, but can really.
It's so not. No, and it's troubling. It really, really is troubling, because I think this is where she's at. Okay. It's not about capitalism. It's not about growing the pie for everyone. It's not about a strong America